Namaste, good morning. This is Dr. Samarth P. Rao. I am an Ayurvedic physician practicing at Amrut Ayurvedic Center in Baswangudi. Today we are going to talk about all the things that you should not do if you are diagnosed with having epilepsy or you have seizures. Usually the cause for this is varied. In Ayurveda, we call this as apasmara. Apasmara is, for a moment, you lose your memory, you lose your awareness. There is a loss in consciousness. You are not aware what you are doing, where you are, or what is going on. You will be taken over by a sudden influx of electrical activity in your brain. So there is a short circuit in the brain. Can be a layman definition for having a seizure. Now, a seizure can have many causes, some of them being it could be a brain development abnormality, or it could be a genetic problem, it could be a tumor in your brain, it could be a very high temperature fever, so it could be many varied reasons. Sometimes it is autoimmune in nature, and if you have any other diseases, sometimes seizure becomes a part and parcel of it. So during seizures, what happens is the person loses a sense of consciousness. They are not aware. So there is no memory, and there could be muscle spasms, and they would behave in a very different way. So there are different things that you got to take care of when somebody is having a seizure. So all this you can discuss with a doctor, but in today's episode I'm going to talk to you about apasmara, what Ayurveda says, what are the foods and activities that you need to avoid to prevent occurrences of seizures or epilepsy. So Ayurveda lists a lot of things. In Vaisajya Ratnavali, it's a 16th century textbook. So in this, some of the first three important emotions that Ayurveda says somebody who's prone to seizures or epilepsy or fits should not indulge in is a lot of grief, fear and anger. Very strong emotions. One is to get very sad about things, think deeply about disturbing things and make you feel hurt a lot. This is one important emotion that you should not write too much on. The second is fear. You know, a certain activity, certain person or a certain event causes a lot of fear in you. Do not try to remember it too often. When you're probing into it, talking about it, that is also a precursor or a trigger for a seizure. Third is engaging in too much anger. When you know your anger is getting out of control, make sure you avoid the situation, get out of the situation, forget your anger, go move about and do things. So do not get angry, do not become a prey for fear, and do not engage with too much sadness in your thinking. So grief, fear and anger are the first three things you need to avoid. Next, avoid too much of alcohol. Alcohol also has a lot of comorbidities. So when somebody has a party, they have a history of seizures and they consume a lot of alcohol, this also triggers seizures, especially after consuming alcohol or even the day after. Next is Ayurveda says a lot of aquatic animals such as fish, prawns and squids, anything that is got out of the ocean also triggers this problem. So this is something you should not consume. Uncompatible and incompatible foods, unwholesome foods, foods that are very different, too spicy, too cold, too hot or mixture of opposite foods is one thing that you should desperately avoid. Too much of exercises is also too bad. Going on for prolonged exercises, marathon runs, extreme swimming, extreme weightlifting. At the same time, an extreme activity such as sexual intercourse for a very long duration of time, very intense activities is also not recommended because this also can trigger. Other thing that Ayurveda says is also violating the norms in the society. all of a sudden you get into guilt mode when you have done something wrong. Disrespecting elders and gods is another thing. So when we submissive ourselves to people who are elder and our temples and gods and everything, we tend to develop an attitude of gratitude in our mind, which will not give scope to extreme emotions in our thinking. Ayurveda also tells you should avoid all kinds of leafy vegetables, such as spinach and different things like salads and everything. So because this also can harbor sometimes infections that might get into the brain and cause seizures. All the fruits that are available during rainy season, so all the different fruits, jamun, then you have all the different kinds of fruits that are available during Ashada month or during the rainy season is something that you shouldn't consume if you are having seizures. Mounting on trees and hills, Ayurveda says that. So you go into a drive on a hill and you look bottom, so that will also trigger a seizure. Or climbing trees and looking bottom, you are not able to get down. These are panic situations. This can also trigger a seizure attack. The other is holding the urges of hunger and thirst. If you are hungry, not eating food. If you are thirsty, not drinking enough. So because these activities tend to deprive the required energy and hydration to the brain and immediately can trigger a seizure. So don't do all these things if you are prone to seizures, to prevent seizures. And if you have epilepsy, Ayurveda, we have wonderful treatments to get you off these frequent seizures and attacks. You can always contact an Ayurvedic doctor. So this episode I've talked to you about all the unwholesome and not doing doable things if you have epilepsy or seizures. Next episode I'm going to tell you about all the foods and activities that you can do to support quick healing of a patient with seizures and epilepsy. Till then, thank you.